We'll move on to our final topic. It was looking at a new pre-emergent herbicide from FMC. So I'll reintroduce Stephen Fischer and Kent Hare to have a bit of a chat about their new product.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for having us along today. It's great to be part of this. A good initiative to, when it's hard to get out and look in the paddocks, good initiative to actually be able to show something that's going on out there. So, yes, we've got a trial with Southern Farming Systems at Inverleigh in Bali, looking at our new pre-emergent herbicide Overwatch. So Overwatch will be commercially available next year, and we wanted to do a trial with Southern Farming Systems looking at barley in that area, because we know Chris Preston's doing a lot of work on pre-emergence, so we thought we'd look at barley as part of our program. And I'm assuming we're coming up to the video shortly, but the work done at this site is also part of a very large-scale trial program across the country, which I can talk about a little bit more after the video. But Greta did have some nice questions for me in the video, talking about the transient bleaching and the like. So I guess if we want to have a look at that, and we can have some questions and answers at the end of it.
Are you right to share your screen, Kent?
I'll have a crack at it again, so we'll see how we go. Is that coming up?
Yes, we can see the FMC logo, effective Overwatch, so you're right to go.
Righto. Righto. Hopefully that one came through.
Yep, it did, Kent. Thank you. So
I did have another one that I can have a go at playing. Whoops, what's happened?
So that was obviously glass house set up with ryegrass and the product on the ryegrass over time.
Yeah,
right.
That was a greenhouse one that we did just to show how it works and show how it turns that magenta colour and then dies. So did you want me to play this other one now? This is one that we did last year at the Inverleigh site with you guys. So this one's in canola. So we got the Overwatch treated plot will be at the front and untreated one, so you'll be able to sort of see the ryegrass get away. So I'll just play that quickly if you like.
That's great. The screen's not sharing.
So is that working?
No,
no.
I can't see your screen.
Yeah, I was going beautifully here. All right. What is that?
You've got to select screen share and select your screen.
Share. All right, I might have to take this one back.
You now, yep, we've
go.
got the untreated at 43 days.
Yep, I just put it back to the start. All right, so yeah, well, we got it. This will be the Overwatch one, untreated, and let's hope it goes back to the start.
Yep, it has.
Yep. Perfect.
Very good.
Thanks, Kent. So I guess in showing a couple of those short videos, one of the things about Overwatch and new pre-emergent is that Overwatch is a little bit different to other products that are out on the market. We've got a product that is quite visual, so you will see the ryegrass emerge, you will see it come up, you'll see the ryegrass turn magenta, change colour, and then die off, and same for the other weeds as well. So the also with Overwatch, and I know there's some questions about it, with the transient bleaching that may occur from time to time. We have seen a little bit of that in the barley down at Inverleigh this year, with the conditions have been quite good for the transient bleaching with good rainfall and the likes. But the reason we've got a really wide trial program right across the country this year is that previous year's data, and there's many years of data on Overwatch, you do a lot of work before you get to the point of being able to launch a product. We haven't seen any loss of yield performance with seeing that transient bleaching early. So it's really important. One of the things that the likes of Kent and myself have been focusing on a lot this year is to just prepare people they may see, may not. There's certainly many sites across the country we haven't had any transient bleaching, but we don't want to have any surprises for those of you out there that might use the product in the future, and hopefully next year for some. Don't be concerned if you see some of that transient bleaching early in the crop. So now, Michelle, is that everybody online seen the video at the trial site? So
we assume yes, they've accessed the e-booklet, so they will have seen the current trial as it stands. No
problem. So there was some questions. I haven't got them quite in front of me at the moment.
So yes, have you come across any combination issues with Overwatch with other pre-emergent herbicides in the HRZ?
That's a good question. So we've looked at a lot of combinations, and I guess a lot of the trial work this year we did. Most of our small plot trials are in combination with other pre-emergent herbicides, so in the high rainfall zone and everywhere else across the country. So we've got quite a large trial program for the product everywhere. And we're looking at other pre-emergents and some early post-emergent products as well. So as far as that goes, we haven't seen any mixing issues with other products there. We've had recent questions, and Kent might be able to talk to this a little bit more because he's seen it for more years than I have, but the likes of glyphosates and products like that and mixing partners, we haven't come across any red flags for mixing with other products. And just to give you an example of that, we've actually got over about 108 farmer scale trials across the country this year, where we're looking at farmer use of the product, where they simply go in and swap out. If they're using Boxer Gold or Sakura, they swap out for 8 hectares of their paddock to use Overwatch. So, and the rest of the products that go into the farmer's tank mix stay the same. So we're going to have an enormous amount of data on all regular tank mixes for going in for a pre-emergent. And to date, we've had no concerns raised, even with over 100 trials with different mixes. So I think we're pretty confident on that side. Ken, if you've got anything to add for the last few years that you've seen?
No, I haven't got a lot to add, but I think it's spot on, Fish, that, yeah, to knowledge, there's no big watch outs. So we've done those grower demos, but we know farmers in different areas, we all like to push the boundaries and do a lot of different mixes. So there'll be still a lot of mixes that we haven't tried, but yeah, so far so good.
Yeah.
These trials have been done over several different seasons in different locations.
Yes. So it takes many years to get a product to market. So this year's probably the largest scale of the work. We've included the large scale farmer trials. So it's by far the biggest year for area of the product being used. But there's been copious amounts of trials conducted and laboratory experiments, of course, as well, to just check physical compatibilities and the like. So all environments, we've got people right across the country. Australia is the first country for launch of this product. So it's pretty significant for us. So there's been a big investment from FMC to make sure we've got as much information as we can. And in line with that, that's always ongoing research. So we will need to, there'll be label expansions in the future. There'll be other things we need to look at. We're looking at other crops as well. There's a lot of work to come over the next few years with the product as well. So you don't just launch it with the way it is now. There's always additions that will be made over the next few years.
I've got a couple of questions in the chat box. So what circumstances cause the most bleaching and in which crop?
Okay, for the bleaching, so we've got registration in wheat, including durum, barley and canola. We probably see that the barley shows up the transient bleaching the most. The wheat and durum don't show up as much, and canola is probably in between the two. So barley tends to demonstrate it a little bit more when it happens, but it also does come through it very nicely. But that'd be my ranking for the crops. Safest on, well, less transient bleaching on wheat, then canola and barley.
So are there any logistics we should be aware of, time to incorporation, PSP options, etc.?
Yes, time to incorporation, you've got 3 days to incorporate. It's registered, it's on label for use in knife point press wheel, incorporated by sowing only. I think there's always lots of questions about other uses of the product, but the label we'll be sticking with the current form is pre-emergent use only. I think with the way it works and with our discussion of transient bleaching, post-emergent use or post-sowing use might lead to some real issues with transient bleaching if you do it that way, because it's important to have the chemical and seed separation. So we're recommending having a sowing depth of 3 centimetres for the product, and it is knife point press wheels only currently.
That goes back to what we were talking about, you guys were talking about with the discs and labels before, was that you know, all discs are different. The same disc machine can be used differently by different operators, so that's why discs aren't on it, and post-sow pre-emergent can put it into that risky spot. I think with the circumstances, I think rainfall is really the one. You know, if you've got dry sowing and you get heavy rainfall, that can move the product a little bit more. The product, it behaves quite similar to Secura. It's just slightly more soluble. The binding's quite similar, so it'll move a bit more in that water, which is really just quite a nice amount that'll get it to the walls to give you a bit of control around the walls of the furrow and that. So yeah, and post-sow pre-emergent, it's one of those ones where you might do it for 3 years and it look all right, and then next year it could get real ugly, so based on conditions. So it's not one that a company would be willing to put onto label.
Are there any sensitive crops to consider replant backs?
Plant backs are something that we're still working on quite a bit. I think most crops would be fine at around the 11-month mark. That's what we've got on label for a couple of crops at the moment. Trying to think, we're waiting on data on the likes of lupins at the moment, because lupins can be very sensitive to it. So we're the R&D team are looking at that at the moment, amongst many other things. But I think at the moment, and it is an area that we're developing, we should have a bit more by the end of the calendar year on what's happening with plant backs. But we've got a number of products there at 11 months at the moment, so it should be okay.
Like the high rainfall zone, it's broken down microbially, so it's a bit different to the mallee, where it can get super dry and be dry and won't break down as readily as what it would in the mallee, where you're going to have those moist soils for longer. So I wouldn't think there'd be too many issues with the plant back.
I think on label we've got something like 250 mil of rainfall for breakdown. So in high rainfall zones, it's of little concern, I would think.
questions? No?
Ah, good.
So, when will we expect to see Overwatch registered and ready?
It is registered now. So
Registered.
it's registered and ready to go. And it's actually, the product's in production. So it's getting manufactured here in Australia. So up in New South Wales, north of Sydney at Wyong. So production is well underway. So the tech product came out of our Indian manufacturing plant earlier this year. So we're on the road. We're moving with it right now. So ready to go.
We'll have good volumes for next year. So I should get the hands on what they please.
No worries. There seems to be no more questions at this precise moment. So thank you very much, Steve and Ken.
Lachlan, heavy stubble loads, it does wash off the stubble loads quite well. So, and that's with that solubility I mentioned, so it won't tie up. So you should be pretty right on heavy stubble loads. I don't know if we got anything on the label. Have we, Fish, regarding stubble loads? But
No.
10, 15 mil of rain, that'll wash that off quite well. So
I think your comment before been similar to Sakura in that way. That covers it with stubble, so it doesn't bind like trifluralin or anything like that. So, and I guess the product's volatility sits around the same as prosulfocarb. So that's why you get your 3 days and you get very little concern in stubbles. So there has been work done. We have got other videos, Kent, haven't we, on where we can where we're showing stubble wash off being quite effective. So yeah, pretty confident with that.
One last call for questions. Anyone else?
Actually, I have just a quick question. Light sensitivity. Sorry, something that you don't see on a label or anything. Does it break down by light?
Good
no,
question.
not for UV. You mean?
Yeah.
No, not really. No. So, micro.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll pull up the conversation there. Thank you very much for joining us, Stephen and Kent, about talking about Overwatch.